First contact fury. The vast emptiness of space erupted in brilliant flashes as energy weapons tore through the darkness. The battle between the Vesperan Alliance and the Draxan Imperium had raged for hours in the disputed Nemerath system, with neither side gaining a decisive advantage. Debris from destroyed vessels drifted silently among the still-fighting ships, a grim testament to the losses already suffered. Fleet Commander Talon of the Vesperan Alliance watched from the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Light, as another of his cruisers succumbed to concentrated fire from 3 Draxan destroyers. His mandibles clicked in frustration as the tactical display updated, showing the grim reality of their deteriorating position. "Commander, we've lost the starward Promise," reported his second-in-command, Sub-Commander Vela. Her normally iridescent scales had dulled with fatigue. "That's 4 capital ships down. The defense line cannot hold much longer." Talon's compound eyes narrowed as he studied the holographic battle map. "Redirect the 7th and 9th squadrons to reinforce the center. We must hold until the reinforcements from Proxima Vespera arrive." "Sir," Vela hesitated, "the reinforcements are still 3 hours away. Tactical analysis suggests we will be overrun in less than 1." The bridge fell silent. The Nemerath system was strategically vital, the last buffer before the densely populated core worlds of the Alliance. If it fell, billions of civilians would be at risk from the notoriously merciless Draxan forces. "Then we fight until the last ship," Talon said firmly. "The Imperium will pay for every kilometer they advance." Just as he finished speaking, the sensor officer called out in alarm. "Commander, spatial anomaly detected at coordinates 274 to 31,985. Draxan reinforcements." Talon asked sharply. "Negative, sir. Energy signature doesn't match any known Draxan technology. It's not matching anything in our database." The main view screen shifted to show a swirling vortex of blue-white energy tearing open the fabric of space. Every officer on the bridge stared transfixed as a ship emerged from the distortion, a vessel unlike any they had encountered before. The newcomer was relatively small compared to the capital ships engaged in battle, yet its design was utterly foreign. Sleek and angular, its dark hull was accented with red striping along its sides. No ceremonial markings or cultural identifiers adorned its surface. Only functional systems and what were clearly weapon ports. Most striking was its propulsion system, glowing with a brilliant blue energy that none of the Vesperans could identify. "Configuration unknown," stated the sensor officer. "Hull composition is unusual. It appears to be absorbing our scanning beams rather than reflecting them." The mysterious vessel hung in space for a moment, seemingly assessing the battle around it. Then, it broadcast on all frequencies simultaneously, overriding communications protocols across both fleets. A bipedal figure appeared on view screens throughout both Vesperan and Draxan vessels. The being had no scales, feathers, or exoskeleton, just smooth skin over a solid internal skeleton. Most bizarre was the small sensory cluster atop its body containing just 2 forward-facing eyes. "This is Captain Maya Chen of the Confederate spaceship Thunderchild, representing the United Earth Confederation," the being stated in a clear, translated voice. "We appear to have entered an active combat zone. Please identify yourselves and the nature of this conflict." Silence fell across both fleets. Even the Draxan Imperium momentarily ceased fire, equally shocked by the unexpected arrival. Talon was the first to recover. "This is Fleet Commander Talon of the Vesperan Alliance. The Draxan Imperium has invaded our sovereign territory. We welcome your arrival, Captain Chen, but advise immediate withdrawal from the battlefield." Before Captain Chen could respond, Lord Commander Vrax of the Draxan Imperium cut into the communication. His massive, armored form dominated the screen, 4 eyes glowing with cold calculation. "This is Lord Commander Vrax of the glorious Draxan Imperium. This system belongs to us by right of conquest. Depart immediately or be destroyed alongside these Vesperan vermin." Captain Chen's expression remained impassive. I understand. We have no quarrel with either side, but request safe passage to the nearest neutral territory while we orient ourselves. Talon was about to respond when the tactical officer called out, Commander, 3 Draxan vessels are moving to intercept the unknown ship. On the view screen, Captain Chen's eyes narrowed slightly. Lord Commander Vrax, your vessels are adopting an attack posture. I must insist they stand down. Vrax's mandibles clacked in what passed for Draxan laughter. You are in no position to make demands. Primitive. Your vessel will make an interesting study for our engineers after we've dissected your crew. Without warning, the 3 Draxan destroyers opened fire on the Thunderchild. Energy beams and plasma torpedoes streaked toward the human vessel in a devastating barrage that should have vaporized a ship of its size instantly. What happened next would be analyzed in military academies across the galaxy for decades. The human ship didn't attempt to evade. Instead, it accelerated toward the incoming fire. Its hull seemed to absorb the energy weapons, dissipating their destructive force across its surface with minimal damage. The plasma torpedoes detonated against some kind of defensive field that flickered blue upon impact, but didn't collapse. Impossible, whispered Vila, watching the scene unfold. No shield technology can withstand concentrated fire like that. The Thunderchild's response was swift and terrible. Not the elegant precision strikes typical of advanced civilizations, but overwhelming calculated violence. Its weapons were crude by galactic standards, primarily kinetic and explosive rather than energy-based, but deployed with devastating effectiveness. Railgun projectiles moving at relativistic speeds tore through the first Draxan destroyer, bypassing its shields entirely as if they weren't there. The second vessel was struck by what appeared to be self-guided missiles that detonated with nuclear fury against its hull. The third destroyer attempted to retreat, but was caught in a web of smaller, faster attack drones launched from the human ship's base. In less than 30 seconds, 3 Draxan warships, each considerably larger than the Thunderchild, had been reduced to expanding debris fields. Lord Commander Vrax's voice roared over the comm channels. All vessels, concentrate fire on the alien intruder. Destroy it immediately. The entire Draxan fleet pivoted, suddenly more concerned with eliminating this unexpected threat than continuing their assault on the Vesperans. 20 warships converged on the lone human vessel, filling space with a storm of destructive energy. Captain Chen's voice came through clearly despite the chaos. Fleet Commander Talon, we appear to have drawn their attention. I suggest you regroup your forces while you can. Talon recovered from his shock. All vessels, defensive formation Delta. Take advantage of the Draxan distraction. The Thunderchild moved with impossible agility for a vessel its size, executing maneuvers that seemed to defy the laws of physics. Its strange propulsion system left brief afterimages in space as it wove through the Draxan formation, weapons blazing continuously. Their technology, murmured Talon as he watched. It's different. Not necessarily more advanced, but unpredictable. The Draxan have no defense against it because it operates on principles they've never encountered. The battle took on a surreal quality as the human ship continued to survive against impossible odds. For every glancing blow it took, it delivered devastating counterattacks. The Draxan fleet, so confident in their superiority moments before, found themselves in disarray. A brilliant flash captured everyone's attention as the Draxan flagship suffered a catastrophic hit to its command deck. The massive vessel listed to one side, power fluctuating across its systems. The human ship targeted their command structure precisely. Vila observed. That wasn't luck. They identified the critical systems in the Draxan vessel design within minutes of engagement. Lord Commander Vrax's voice, now raging with fury, came through damaged communication systems. All forces, strategic withdrawal. Regroup at fallback point Epsilon. The surviving Draxan vessels began disengaging, creating distance to jump to faster than light travel. Their retreat was orderly but unmistakable. For the first time in the 3-year war, a Draxan offensive had been halted not just temporarily, but decisively reversed. As the enemy fleet retreated, the Thunderchild maintained position, its weapon systems still at full readiness but no longer firing. Captain Chen's face appeared once more on the Vesperin screens. Fleet Commander Talon, the immediate threat appears to have been neutralized. With your permission, I'd like to dock with your flagship to discuss our situation. Talon looked around at his bridge crew, seeing his own astonishment reflected in their expressions. A single ship, from a species none of them had ever encountered, had just turned the tide of a battle they had been losing. "Permission granted, Captain Chen," he replied. "And on behalf of the Vesperin Alliance, I extend our profound gratitude for your intervention, whatever your reasons may have been." The human captain nodded once. "We'll prepare a diplomatic party. Thunderchild out." As the communication ended, Vela moved closer to Talon, speaking quietly. "Commander, what exactly are we dealing with? Their technology, their tactics, they're unlike anything we've seen." Talon watched as the human vessel approached, its strange design now seeming more ominous than odd. "I don't know, Vela, but I suspect the arrival of humanity may have just changed the course of this war, and perhaps the galaxy itself." The human variable, the diplomatic chamber aboard the Eternal Light, had been designed to impress foreign dignitaries with the artistic and technological achievements of Vesperin civilization. Illuminated crystalline sculptures lined the walls, changing colors in harmony with the emotional resonance of conversations. The air was perfumed with rare botanical extracts, known to ease tension across most sentient species' neurological systems. None of it seemed to affect Captain Maya Chen as she sat across from Fleet Commander Talon at the central table. Her expression remained measured and professional, neither awed by the alien grandeur nor intimidated by the 7-foot-tall insectoid commander before her. "You understand our surprise, Captain," Talon said after preliminary introductions had been completed. "Humanity was unknown to us until today. Our stellar cartography shows no record of your civilization's territory." Captain Chen nodded. "That's because we've been isolated, Commander. Earth exists in a sector of space surrounded by an unusual radiation band that effectively masked our signals and prevented detection. Until recently, we believed ourselves alone in the galaxy." Lieutenant Rivera, the ship's chief science officer, added, "We developed the trans-dimensional wormhole drive as an alternative to conventional FTL travel. This is our first successful long-range jump, though clearly we arrived somewhere unexpected." Talon's compound eyes shifted slightly, the Vesperin equivalent of raised eyebrows. A blind jump across dimensional barriers. Most species would consider such a risk unacceptable. "Necessity drives innovation," Chen replied simply. "Earth's resources are dwindling. We needed to expand or face extinction." The directness of the human answer surprised Talon, who was accustomed to the veiled diplomatic language of established galactic powers. "And your weaponry. I've never seen anything like what your vessel deployed against the Draxon." A slight smile crossed Chen's face. "Humanity developed along different technological paths than what we've observed in your ships. While your civilizations focused on energy manipulation, we perfected kinetic weapons and nuclear technology. Different problems produce different solutions." "Different problems indeed," Talon mused. "Your defensive capabilities absorbed energy weapons that would have destroyed any of our vessels instantly. Graphene diamond composite hull with vacuum bubble insulation layers," Lieutenant Rivera explained. "Energy weapons dissipate across the surface rather than penetrating. It's effective against the weapons we've encountered so far, though I wouldn't want to test its limits unnecessarily." The tactical implications were staggering. For centuries, the major powers of the galaxy had developed countermeasures to each other's technologies in predictable patterns. The humans represented an outside context problem. Their weapons bypassed defenses designed for different threats, while their defenses neutralized established weapon systems. "Captain," Talon said gravely, "your arrival may have saved the Nemerath system today, but the Draxon will return with greater numbers. They cannot allow the existence of technology they cannot counter." Chen nodded. We expected as much. The question is, what happens next? We're strangers here with one ship, limited supplies, and no immediate way to return home. Before Talon could respond, Sub-Commander Vela entered the chamber, her scales flashing urgent patterns. Commander, our long-range sensors have detected a massive Draxan fleet assembling at the edge of the system. At least 30 capital ships, including 2 dreadnoughts. The atmosphere in the room shifted instantly from diplomatic exchange to crisis management. How long until they arrive? Talon asked. 6 hours at most, Vela replied. They must have diverted forces from multiple sectors. Captain Chen stood. It seems our conversation about the future will have to wait, Commander. Right now, you have a more immediate problem. Talon's mandibles clicked in concern. Even with your vessel's remarkable capabilities, Captain, those odds are insurmountable. My reinforcements won't arrive in time. I must order the evacuation of our colonies in this system. Or, Chen said, her voice level, we change the nature of the engagement. All Vesperan eyes turned to her. Explain, Talon requested. Chen activated a small projector she had brought, displaying a tactical hologram. The Draxan expect us to fight conventionally, ships against ships in open space. But humans have a long history of asymmetric warfare when outmatched. Lieutenant Rivera tapped commands into the projector, highlighting the largest gas giant in the system. This planet's rings contain dense metallic elements, correct? Vela nodded. Yes, primarily iron-nickel compounds. We mine them for construction. Perfect, Chen said. Here's what we propose. 4 hours later, the Draxan fleet emerged from FTL travel in perfect formation, a 3-dimensional phalanx designed to bring maximum firepower to bear while maintaining overlapping defensive fields. At its center, the massive Dreadnought Inevitable Conquest dwarfed all other vessels, its planet-killer main cannon already charging. Lord Commander Vrax, his pride wounded but his confidence undiminished, stood on the bridge of the Dreadnought. His exoskeleton bore fresh grafts, where emergency medical procedures had saved his life during their earlier retreat. Status report, he demanded. Vesperan forces have consolidated around the third planet, my lord, his tactical officer reported. 17 vessels in defensive formation. The alien ship is among them. And our strategy? As you commanded, we will approach in attack formation Omega, isolate the alien vessel with our superior numbers, and destroy it first. Then we eliminate the remaining Vesperan resistance. Vrax's mandibles clicked in satisfaction. The humans caught us by surprise before. A mistake we shall not repeat. Begin the advance. The massive Draxan armada moved into the system, sensors sweeping ahead for any signs of ambush. They detected nothing unusual as they approached the gas giant that separated them from their targets. My lord, the sensor officer called, we're detecting unusual movement in the planetary rings. Explain, Vrax demanded. The particulate matter is accelerating against gravity. Before Vrax could process this information, the tactical officer shouted, incoming. Massive volley of objects from the rings. Space around the Draxan fleet suddenly filled with millions of metallic projectiles. Mining charges attached to chunks of iron-nickel asteroids, accelerated to tremendous velocities by carefully placed magnetic accelerators the combined forces had hidden throughout the rings. The projectiles weren't particularly advanced, but their sheer number and speed made them devastating. Draxan shields designed to deflect energy weapons provided minimal protection against solid masses moving at relativistic speeds. Ships began taking damage immediately, their pristine formation disrupting as captains attempted evasive maneuvers. A primitive minefield. Vrax raged. Continue the advance. Push through it. As the Draxan fleet struggled through the hail of projectiles, sensors detected a new threat. The human vessel Thunderchild was approaching rapidly, but not on an attack vector. Instead, it was executing a complex flight pattern through the rings themselves. What are they doing? Vrax demanded. The answer came moments later as sections of the planetary rings began to move coherently. The humans had deployed some kind of mass manipulation technology that was literally reshaping parts of the ring system into a controlled asteroid storm directed precisely at the Draxan fleet. "Impossible," the science officer exclaimed. "The energy requirements would be—" His statement was cut short as a chunk of nickel iron the size of a small moon accelerated toward the fleet, breaking apart into thousands of guided projectiles. The carefully orchestrated chaos engulfed the Draxan formation. Ships collided with asteroids and each other as they tried to escape the trap. The Dreadnought's superior shields held, but dozens of smaller vessels were crippled or destroyed in minutes. And then, emerging from behind the artificial asteroid storm, came the combined Vesperan human attack force. The Vesperan ships moved in perfect coordination with the human vessel, having adapted their tactics to complement the Thunderchild's unconventional approach. On the bridge of the Eternal Light, Fleet Commander Talon watched as the battle unfolded exactly as Captain Chen had predicted. "The humans understand chaos," he said quietly to Vela. "They don't try to impose perfect order like we do, or overwhelming force like the Draxan. They create controlled chaos, and then navigate it better than their enemies." The remaining Draxan ships attempted to regroup around the Dreadnought, but they were scattered and disoriented. The Vesperan fleet struck with precision, targeting damaged sectors and vulnerable systems identified by the human analysts. Aboard the Thunderchild, Captain Chen issued calm, measured orders as her ship wove through the battlefield. "Launch Tactical Package Epsilon. Target their flagship's main power conduits." A series of specialized drones deployed from the human vessel, each carrying a compact fusion device. They navigated through the chaotic battlefield with uncanny precision, attaching themselves to specific weak points in the Dreadnought's massive hull, points that human analysts had identified by studying sensor data from the previous engagement. Lord Commander Vrax realized too late what was happening. Destroy those drones. Maximum point defense. The Dreadnought's defensive systems activated, destroying several drones, but not all. 3 reached their targets and detonated simultaneously, creating precisely calibrated shockwaves that traveled through the Dreadnought's structure and converged on its main reactor. The inevitable conquest didn't explode dramatically. Instead, its power systems cascaded into failure, leaving the massive vessel drifting and vulnerable. Within minutes, the Draxan fleet, what remained of it, began a disorganized retreat. Victory alarms sounded throughout the Vesperan vessels as they realized what had happened. The combined force had defeated an armada 3 times their size with minimal losses. Signal from the Thunderchild. "Commander," Vela reported, her scales flashing jubilant colors. Captain Chen's image appeared on screen, her uniform slightly disheveled, but her expression as composed as ever. "Fleet Commander, I believe the Draxan have received our message." Talon's mandibles clicked in what humans would later learn was the Vesperan equivalent of a smile. "Indeed they have, Captain. And I suspect the rest of the galaxy will soon receive it as well." 2 days later, in the now secured Nemarath system, Captain Chen stood with Fleet Commander Talon on the observation deck of the Vesperan station orbiting the system's habitable planet. Below them, the blue-green world turned peacefully, unaware of how close it had come to destruction. "The Alliance Council has extended an official invitation for Earth to send diplomatic representatives," Talon said. "Your people's perspective would be valuable." Chen nodded. "Once we establish reliable two-way travel through our wormhole technology, I'm sure Earth will be eager to establish relations. We have much to learn from each other. And much to fear from each other, if we're being honest," Talon replied. "Your ship and crew of 300 effectively changed the course of a war that has raged for years between powers that command thousands of vessels." "We were fortunate," Chen said modestly. "The element of surprise won't work twice." "Perhaps, but it wasn't just surprise, was it? It was how you think. Different from us, different from the Draxan. You see possibilities where we see only established patterns." Chen turned to face the Vesperan commander directly. Humanity developed in isolation, Commander. We had only ourselves to compete against, to learn from. We never had the benefit of shared galactic knowledge, but we also never developed the shared blind spots. A blessing and a curse, Talon observed. Like most things worth having. Chen agreed. They stood in companionable silence for a moment, watching the stars. Finally, Chen spoke again. Our jump drive is recharged. We'll be returning to Earth tomorrow to report what we found. Will you come back? Talon asked. Captain Chen smiled, more warmly than she had since arriving in this strange new part of the galaxy. Count on it, Commander. Humanity has just discovered we're not alone in the universe. Wild horses couldn't keep us away. Talon's translator struggled with the idiom, but captured the sentiment. Then this isn't an ending, but a beginning. The beginning of something none of us can predict, Chen agreed. But if there's one thing humans excel at, it's adapting to the unpredictable. I think you'll find we make interesting allies. As the Thunderchild prepared for its return journey the next day, news of the battle had already spread across subspace communications to a dozen worlds. The story grew with each retelling. How a single ship from an unknown species had turned the tide of war. How humans fought with strategies no one had considered before. How the mighty Draxan fleet had been humbled. And in distant sectors, other powers began to ask the same question. What would happen when not just one human ship, but an entire civilization joined the galactic community? The answer, like humanity itself, remained gloriously unpredictable.